Joe presents House of Rugby, United Rugby Championship, together with Bank of Ireland, proud supporter of the 4 Irish provinces.
Welcome to House of Rugby URC, together with Bank of Ireland, proud supporter of the 4 Irish provinces.
In today's show, we have all the highlights from this weekend's 4th round of action, as well as our picks for Try of the Week, and of course the winner of our Jukebox award.
And also we have Leinster and Irish international Lindsay Peat. Welcome to the show, Lindsay.
Thanks so much for having me.
It's great to be sitting here with a legend.
I'm not sure about that. 3 legends surrounding me, so I'm in good company.
I have to mention before we get started just some of your achievements. You 37 caps for Ireland. You've won an All-Ireland title with the Dublin GAA, and you also captained the Irish basketball team. What's next?
Oh God, I don't know. Sevens, Greg was planting the seed now after this, maybe, but no.
So the only thing you haven't done.
I'm not sure. Listen, there's loads. I'm really bad at darts, snooker, you name it. But maybe a bit of sparring with Kelly Harrington for the crack. She can knock me out, maybe knock some sense into me.
Huge achievement. You're obviously feeling a little bit numb from a couple of weeks ago. How are you feeling after that?
Oh, to be honest, really kind of trying to be present back in life. And, you know, as athletes, we'll understand, like, you're kind of in a bubble, and we built up everything to this one goal, which was making New Zealand and qualifying and getting Ireland back in the world stage that we want to be on. Yeah. But I think I speak for all the girls. We're still pretty numb and pretty emotional and pretty upset. So, you know, we underperformed over there, but, you know, we should have really, and no disrespect to the quality teams over there, but the time we had together and stuff, we should have really qualified. So we're heartbroken. I really am. I'm heartbroken. Yeah. And I suppose I'm at the latter end, and I know there's a lot of young, talented girls there, and even not so young, that have a great future ahead of them. But to not be on the world stage, which will be the biggest tournaments, the first World Cup for the women's down in the Southern Hemisphere, in the home of, you know, rugby in New Zealand, like, it's numb now, but it's going to be pretty raw now in a year's time when it kicks off. So, yeah. Still pretty much on the floor.
Yeah, a bit disappointing, but on a better note,
yes,
you know, you work really, really hard in the gym. You've obviously been isolated quite a lot of the time.
Yep.
And there's kind of a picture that we want to show you. Well, you're a bit bored. What was lockdown life like?
Yes. Well, I mean, if you can't lift the weights, you might as well lift yourself. So I was just trying to be a sort of Yoda, Star Wars there. Thanks for stalking through my Instagram there. Cheers.
That's impressive core strength there.
Thanks very much. I could have kind of straightened the legs out, couldn't I?
I know.
Maybe gone into a bit of a handstand. I'll do that this week. I'll tag you.
Do tag me on
We'll have a competition.
Sure, Lindsay, I played with you for a number of years with the girls, and like, I know you really well, but like, I know these guys want to get to know you better, and so does your fans. We've had a few questions coming in from Instagram and social media.
Yep.
Go easy.
Yeah, so we're going to kick you off. We're going to play the 10-question game, just to get to know a bit better.
Perfect, yeah, I'll kick it off. Yeah, I've got a question in from Len Carbery. Rugby, soccer, Gaelic football and basketball. Is hurling next?
Do you know what? No. I'll tell you what, great question, Lynn, but no. We call it Mogi in my club. It's Parnell's out near Coolock Village, and I think I played once. I played actually in primary school, and I kicked the sliotar in for 2 goals, but it was a hindrance. Like, it was kind of like a weapon. So for my safety and everyone else's, no, it won't be. But my son plays hurling. He's only 5, so we'll go with him. I lived through him for the hurling. So
fair enough.
We'll
Perfect.
stick there.
Good answer.
And does the young fella play rugby as well?
No, not yet. We have him in kind of... Do you know, my philosophy on it, and as my wife's, is kind of like looking at gymnastics, swimming, coordination. I would like him to do basketball. I think kind of centres. I think he's going to be a big man. He's in 8 to 9 clothes. He's only 5. He's in a size 1 shoe. So he's going to be a big man. But for coordination and just manipulation of space and working in small areas, I'd love him to start with basketball, and then kind of whether it be GAA or rugby he goes into. To be honest, I'm not sure he'd be sporty. I think he loves the buzz of sport. I'm not going to push him. I don't know if he's ever seen Robbie Williams with the Conquer clip with his kids. I'm kind of that parent. I'm like, I take no prisoners, and it's not really conducive to fun all the time. So, look, once he's happy and he's healthy and he's active, that's all we want.
I bet you have to kind of rein in the competition side of Lindsay a little bit.
Listen, I'm buying all the jerseys. I bought him something for his birthday, a new Dublin top, and, you know, the Leinster jerseys. And probably one of my proudest moments was actually our last match together. He was our mascot as we went out for the final match of the Interpros for Leinster, and I've lovely photos. Him in the dressing room beside my number 1 jersey, and I got to lead him out. And, you know, you know, who knows what lies ahead, but I'd love him to be our mascot for Ireland and get to,
amazing.
you know, we haven't played in front of family or friends in over 2 years, and you know, to bring him out on the pitch, like he came a few weeks early, and he was there for my first Six Nations as a little tot, and now he'd be kind of tackling on the pitch now. He's huge, he's up to my shoulder, so that's his journey through sport. And I remember actually Munster and Leinster were playing, but it was a men's game, and I was sitting beside him and he goes, "There, you're on the telly." And I was like, oh, well, at least he recognised it. They were the boys. But and then I said, "Which colour am I in?" And he picked me in Munster red. I was like, oh, there's a lot of learning to do, but I'm mixed emotions here.
He's a smart man, so picking the red and Munster.
Listen, lose his colour.
Next question for you, Lindsay, is we touched on it earlier with the World Cup disappointment.
Yes.
I think the whole country joins you in being disappointed that we won't have a women's team there. But overcoming that defeat, do you have any tricks of the trade that you've learned in your last couple of years for overcoming that sadness and disappointment?
Yeah, look, that kind of, there's an evolution to that. You know, as a young 20-odd-year-old, you go with your team, you have a couple of drinks, you get it all out in the emotion, and you always have the next goal, the next competition, so you go in really quickly and you can kind of park it. Probably, as I said, because I'm at the latter end of my career, and you need to be, if you want to progress on, whether it's an individual or collectively, you have to be brutally honest with yourself. Because if we don't set goals, if we don't review, if you don't look at the mistakes, how are you ever going to get better? And I'm sure that resonates with everyone here, whether we're talking about your job or some, you know, you have to be always reviewing yourself. So yeah, it's important to stick with your team. It's important to stay in that bubble. It's important to feel the loss together, to make promises to each other and kind of park it and be better for the next time. And when the winning does come, my God, is it good. But it's surround yourself with good people, not be afraid to be vulnerable and honest, and not be afraid to kind of use it for having a couple of drinks and going out. And when you build that culture and that camaraderie and that kind of galvanising your team, it is about going through all those emotions and all that journey together. So just surround yourself with good people. And yeah, your teams are meant to lose, people are meant to lose. That's the draw of sport, that's the raw emotion, and it's never easy. But by God, doesn't make the winning good.
Exactly. You got to fail on the path to success, like, and this will help build the foundations for the women's team over a long period of time now.
Absolutely. Like, look, if we look at LeBron James over his career, he went from Cleveland, then he goes to Miami Heat, then he goes back to Cleveland, wins the championship, then he goes to the Lakers. Now, is he bringing just the je ne sais quoi of LeBron James? Yeah, but he's also bringing how he won championships along that journey.
Yep.
And that's the evolution of the senior player to the younger players, and they're all the ingredients to make a successful team. So, you know, we talk about it that it just comes with it, but there's such fine margins between the teams that are successful. Like, look at Anthony Foley yesterday. We marked his, you know, I can't believe he's gone 5 years. But if you look at the legacy he left at Shannon, and, you know, they had 9 AIL titles, he was part of that 4 or 5 winning in a row. And now looking down Division 1B, it is swings and roundabouts, and it's, you know, there's special moments that come along with special teams. And I've been privileged with All Ireland wins, with being on the cusp of Division A with Irish basketball, and, you know, that championship in 2017 where we got to play England for the Grand Slam. Like, they're special moments, and we haven't been there since. So I've led a privileged career, but as I said, it's always been the good people that have picked you up when you're down, and they're always the good people that want to celebrate with you when you get the good times.
Yeah, and talking about your privileged career that you've been playing for the last couple of years now, there's chats that you're, like, people like yourself and Senen Ope who might follow Claire Malloy into retirement, but I don't think that's on your mind right now. You want to keep playing for Ireland for another few years.
I'm not sure with that now. I think, looking at the person I am, I definitely will stay in sport. Obviously, I do have a young son, and I will be 41 in November now soon. So, and I think now that we haven't qualified for a World Cup, I think, you know, it would be, I'd love to finish on the home side, but I can't see, I won't be playing in the next Six Nations. You know, I don't see myself going there, because I think it's time now for us to use the next period of time to blood some new players. We need to have a big Six Nations for the 2023 Championship for World Rugby. So no decisions made of yet, but no, it definitely won't be long. I certainly won't take that question for Sene. You know, she's an absolute machine, and, you know, an absolutely world-class player. So if you don't mind, I would like to take the opportunity to give a huge congratulations to Claire Malloy. on an absolutely stellar career. I know we talk about men's and women's, but I think as a number 7, she was absolutely world class, and I think she will be a loss to the game of rugby. And I just want to congratulate her on a fantastic career. And I was sorry to see her go, but
of course,
she left on the top, and she's an amazing person and player. So congratulate her on that career.
Yeah,
very good. Looking at that, like our next question, and looking at those moments, and whether or not you're going to be playing going forward. What's your favourite match you've ever played in an Irish jersey? Is there one, or is there more?
Do you know, I have a few snippets. Probably after I broke my leg in 2020 against England, my uncle Philip said I wouldn't be back. He said to me, Dad, I don't see her come back after a broken leg. And I was like, how absolute dare you? So I took him as motivation. So getting back on the pitch actually against Italy in 2020, October 2020, probably was, I enjoyed that game. I've enjoyed all my days, can I just say, in an Ireland jersey, but there's never one standout really, because I think if I ever had a game where I was woman of the match or player of the match, I'd just retire on that, because it's so hard to play internationally against such talented players, and the players that I play with are so talented. So probably my standout for just kind of enjoying being back in the pitch, and kind of took it like change of mindset, like, oh, if this was my last match, how would I like to go out? And I got a try that day, and set up another one for Claire Malloy. I thought I enjoyed it. So whether I played that well, I do remember that being a standout. I remember my first try against Italy in 2016. Like, I've loads of standout moments that I really enjoyed. And I have to say, overall, we'll come up to 6 years now since we made our debut. 3 of us together, myself, Ciara Cooney and Cleena Maloney in the Stoop in Twickenham. I think it was 14 November 2015, and we're coming up 6 years later now. So it's been a real roller coaster, but
I'd say so.
Certainly an absolutely amazing one. And those 2 people I've just mentioned are friends for life now, and I've made a couple of more. So
brilliant.
It's been positive.
Excellent.
Good. But looking on, like you said, after rugby, and you have your young son, like mother to mother, like you've been a big inspiration to me, to get myself back into sport, back to playing rugby. I mean, I just didn't think I would ever be able to pick up a ball again, but looking at you, like week in, week out training, it's really given me the confidence. I wanted to actually ask your opinion on, maternity leave for women in sport, women in rugby. I know there's not much talk about it, there's not much anything in place through the RFU. Do you believe that there's enough support for professional women in sport to go and have families and be able to return back to sport at the level that they were at?
Well, obviously, if you're employed and contracted, that has to be in your contract. And I know Sene might be able to, like, if she was here, be able to talk about this a lot more, because I think she worked with getting this over the line with Sport Ireland, and hopefully I'm right with those. But if, terms and conditions of employment, at the end of the day, women have children, they have to start families, and if they decide to do that or become pregnant, then it should be their choice to be able to take that maternity leave and come back, and that should be facilitated as part of their contract, and that's essential. I mean, if we're going to evolve any sport, that comes part and parcel with being a woman, and that shouldn't be taken away, nor should women have to put their family on hold, because at this stage, if you're investing in a career and you're trying to juggle being a mum or a parent and being a professional athlete, then there has to be part and parcel. And we've seen that with Jessica Ennis, the Olympian. Like, it's essential to be able to be given that permission, so that you can fully immerse yourself in your training and then come out. And there's many more athletes we could list that have been privileged enough, and I don't think it should be a discussion at this stage. I think it should be people working on behalf of the athletes to facilitate that option. Because
is it something that you might look to do maybe when you retire, like going into?
Absolutely, I definitely want to stay in sport, whether that's in coaching or sitting on boards and advocating, making those changes necessary to evolve the game. Now, I have a lot of upskilling to do with that, but at the end of the day, I certainly want to use my experience as a player to facilitate and help in committees or unions or anywhere that I can be useful, upskill myself and be that advocate. Absolutely, I have no problem doing that, and I think there's loads of areas we can look in. And at the end of the day, the cliche saying, Rome wasn't built in a day. So I think there's definitely areas to look at, and I need to look at where I can be of most value. And I'm delighted to hear you going back in, because I think I've said this before. Just because you have a baby, you're still Megan Williams, the rugby player, and you're Megan Williams, the fabulous mum of Anthony, and I've seen him, and he's a lovely, happy little boy, and, you have to be able to still be yourself, because to be able to be yourself and happy and healthy is it just brings such joy to you to be able to be that better person for all the people in your life. And I think we take that for granted. And you want to be the best version of your parent and as an athlete. And I think the world is changing. Like, you know, it does a lot of work, and I can't take away of so many supports in place to have allowed me to do what I've done, none more so than my wife and my own family. So, you know, I can't take all the credit here. It's not like, yeah, I juggle and you have to kind of, you know, be everything. But, you know, I have a lot of supports to facilitate me to do this. And, you know, a huge thank you to everyone who's helped me along the way. You know, friends and family even coming to the house to help and you know, helping us. But mainly it's been my wife being able to support me. So can't thank her enough.
Amazing. The next question we have for you is from Bernadette Brady. I think it was on Instagram. Firstly, she wants to thank you for everything you've done. She thinks you're amazing.
So much.
And then
Thanks,
she follows up then with wanting to know what you would do or your opinion on developing the women's game in school, club and provincial level. Where would you start?
I was thinking of this. Great question, by the way, Bernadette, and thanks so much for getting in touch with your kind words. I think there's so much personally I think we can do right now for women in sport and rugby in Ireland. I think personally we need to put, you know, kids need to play. They need to play the game. So you have to start at grassroots. We need to really, really encourage the numbers for participation and just get a love of the game. Yeah. So I think boys and girls in all the clubs should be facilitated in the rugby tots and all the way up along, until obviously a certain point that we have to separate them for physicality reasons and when we get into tackles and everything like that. But like, for example, Enya Breen, I've seen played with the boys in Skibbereen. Now, her technical side and her game understanding is fantastic, and you can see that she's played. So her confidence and even her technique, her tackle technique, game understanding, it brings that confidence for her. So for me, I'd start with grassroots. We need to get 15s into schools. If schools don't have, obviously try and get 7s. We try and branch out every type of rugby in the schools. And then we need to kind of liaise with moving participation into performance, then getting our underage grades, 13, 14, but most specifically then kind of under 16, 18s, 20s, feeding into our AIL. What's the goal of our interprovincial tournament? Where does that lie with us? And then we go into international. There's lots of good people out there in Irish rugby doing lots of really, really good things, but now we need to coordinate everything. We need to look at the calendar. We need to give the AIL, exactly like the men's, the women's needs the same times that we need our internationals available for a minimum of about 70% of games. And then we need to look at our interprovincials and see how that can facilitate that grading. Maybe are we looking at maybe that transition for some of our under 20s into senior? Are we going to look at maybe trying to do what we've done with the men's with the URC? Are we going to have provincial teams playing in those competitions? And then how can we feed all that up along into our international? Because I think that would take a lot of weight off. And then we've more established, confident and more skillful players as we go up into senior. So I do think there's a lot of changes. As I said, there's a lot of people, volunteers, a lot doing very, very good work. But do I feel it's coordinated enough to actually have a pipeline and a pathway? No, that's not what I think right now. You know, if we were, before we come on, obviously we were talking about the Red Roses. I don't want to compare us to England, but we have to, because right now they're world class. They've won World Cups and they're probably going to be the favourites going into New Zealand. I think in their current squad, other than two, which would be Shauna Brown and Claudia McDonnell, and I hope they don't mind me mentioning because they came from other sports, but other than those two people, those two players, all the rest of their team played underage and were facilitating their pathway all the way up. Okay. Wow. So, like, if you look at the number of caps, like Sarah Byrne was blooded there before 2017. She came up through the under 18, under 20 structure. She plays with Bristol Bears. They're very much under the umbrella with their men's team. They've had a cracking start to the Premiership season. Our club players have been out for nearly 18 months, and whereas the Tyrrell's Premiership in England have played like 19 games alone last season. Do you know? So the quality they're playing against, the quality games they're getting, and then to go into their international setups, and all of the England players are available to their clubs for most of the year. Okay. So I think we need to look at that and kind of mirror them.
So there's a system there that works. It's
Absolutely.
Just using that and putting it in place in Ireland. And there's even like the male structure in Ireland is pretty good, that you see it coming through 18s, 19s, 20s into the senior team. So the backbone's there. It's just getting more women at a younger level to play.
Absolutely. We need to buy them in. You know, we really need to buy them in. And this isn't, you know, we could be talking about basketball, we could be talking about GAA. Like when I was playing back in GAA in 2009, to compare to probably what numbers are playing now, is huge. Little get on board, you bigger investors, there's more commercials, more media, there's a buy-in. So I said there's lots of good people doing really good things in rugby in Ireland, but we need more.
Expose it to the younger girls.
Absolutely, it needs to be, it needs to be a product. We need to get it out there. We need our internationals going into school and taking days. Like I played with Larissa, who we know, who's heavily involved with Leinster. She works in the school, she's working in our club, she's working now with Trinity. Absolutely fantastic person, coach, and I know she's doing great work. But how many more Larissa Muldoons can we get around the country to help help do that? So that's the areas we need to look at. And this is a negative. This is kind of, again, taking a step back, looking what we need to get the game to the level we want to be, because I don't want to be talking to you guys about not making a World Cup. I want to be talking about us making a semi-final or winning Grand Slams or, absolutely fighting for a World Cup. So we want Irish rugby across the board, whether we're talking about 20s, men's, women's, to a sport to being more class, and that's where I want to see it.
Yeah. I have an interesting one here. What are your thoughts on the study that women are more susceptible to concussion?
Yeah, the funny thing is with that, we've only started the study, and I read a couple of reports, a couple of research being done. Doug King was one. I think it was 40 female players in Wellington. So for the male player, you're looking at 7 to 10 days as the main period of recovery, whereas he felt with some of the women, they reported day 10 was their most susceptible, worst day. It took them 28 days on average. Now that's to do with their menstrual cycle, their brain fibres being a lot thinner. So we haven't got enough studies as to the makeup of women, and it's not actually in contact that the concussion happens. It's kind of like heading a ball, whiplash. So even how they're being concussed is very, very different. But obviously, and then I think there was another, Willie Stewart, was it Dr. Willie Stewart, who's on the board with World Rugby for concussion. Again, kind of took male and female, a couple of thousand, just under 5,000 of each sex. And he was more so saying, again, the research that we're trying to assign to the women's side of things is all male research. So we can't work like that, because it's just a different game, and we may have to adapt to kind of the rules. So the rules are the same for male and female, in how the game is played. So we may have to adapt that. So it's kind of scary. It's more so there's not enough research, and then we're not as quick to take women off the field is really the way we're going. And I think we've seen that in the Farah Palmer Cup final between Waikato, if I pronounce it right, in Canterbury. So I think maybe the control of the game was lost. We'd pull in a hair, we'd clash of heads, we'd stitches. Was there a HIA? Like, how did the game get to that level? And then we'd no one kind of been, looked at from a kind of health and safety point of view. So again, this is all information you're feeding off, but I think for now, I'm not surprised. I think we need to do more research across the board for female rugby, and we have to take it away. Nothing against the male side of things. It works. We don't need to use that at the blueprint. We need to not be afraid to adapt it, do more studies, and then make changes necessary to protect players that are going to play. Because again, I think this is a big deterrent for females, and like I can see parents not wanting their daughters to play because they feel it's a really, really physical game. It's an absolutely brilliant game to play, and when it's done right, and like tackle technique as well is a big thing, because again, some players like myself are coming in late to the game, so you're trying to adapt. Whereas if we get little girls playing from a right age and getting their tackle techniques, now you're not thinking.
Of course.
Now you know how to protect yourself. Now you're not less susceptible, you would hope, to, because the fundamental of the games are taught that to a higher standard. So I just think it's more, again, just keeping doing what we're doing, more research, and not be afraid to make the changes and go against the grain. That's where we're at.
That's
You're absolutely brilliant. You know yourself, and you're a basketball coach, you're a trained PE teacher as well. Any interest in maybe managing the Irish rugby team?
Do you know what? I had this interview with Marie Crowe, and I'll be honest, right? I think I need to adapt my emotional intelligence to be able, because I think this is a big thing for me, right? My philosophy on successful teams can be, you can have a team full of really skillful players, and then you have a team kind of with a mix, with good personalities that would die for you. So if I'm a good person and I can instill belief in those players and they want to play for me, I don't think I need to be the best coach, but I'm not sure I'm ready and skilled enough to know my personnel yet. So, I want to be the player I am as a coach. So I give you everything. If I'm on your team, I have your back. Mightn't come across the same way. I remember grabbing the Welsh captain because she had Paula Fitzpatrick by the neck. But you know yourself, the third person coming in rugby now is usually the boldest. So I was like, well, I didn't know that. You know, you're kind of working off the community, like she hurt my friend. So yeah, I played under lots of great coaches, and I wouldn't want to go into it unless I'm going to be the best I could be. I've kind of thought about maybe skill acquisition of forwards coach as part of the management, yes, but as a head coach, I'm not sure yet. But it's definitely somewhere I want to go.
I hope so. I'd love for you to be my coach.
Absolutely, I'd love it. You know, I've had a lot of experience of coaches. Like Ben Armstrong is one of my favourite, and I think Ben is the type of person that you could instill in us.
Brilliant.
He treated us like people. He didn't give us too much information, little snippets, and then he just let us play.
He brought the best out of you. I remember he was one of my favourite coaches. I absolutely thrived off his.
Yeah, and we've seen that 5 in a row. He brought us to Harlequins, the big game in Twickenham, their Big 12 game. It was one of my favourite games to play of rugby, actually, and he's just one of the standout coaches for me. And there's many more across the career, but you kind of just want to take the good of all and be able to bring it back.
Maybe instead of going straight in as head coach, you could do one of the specialised roles. Like you saw Paul O'Connell go in as a line-out coach. You see John Fogarty, scrum coach in Leinster.
I love John Fogarty.
Yeah, that could be a stepping stone for you, specialised and then the head coach. Maybe.
If John Fogarty took me under his wing as scrum coach, John, you give me a ring now. I'll be there for you. But no, I would love that.
I could see you doing that for sure. The next question I have for you is, I've heard through the grapevine that you have a nickname, Braveheart.
Oh God, you said that.
Is that true? What's that about?
Was that from Sarah Kelly? Do you know what? You know, a lot of captains are calm, and I kind of do this rah-rah. Like, I think my coach, Mark Ingle, ex-basketball coach, said, you know, he had us real calm before a cup final. And I was captain at the time, and I absolutely goes, let's rip their effing heads off. And, you know, so his calm speech, like, was just absolutely ripped up when I was, like, you know, giving a rah-rah. And, yeah, I'm kind of like the William Wallace, you just, you know, on a horse, you know, waving my sword, trying to decapitate everyone. So yeah, I'm not the calmest, so that's probably where Braveheart comes from. So I'm not sure whether it's a compliment or not, but anyway, I'll take it.
Definitely take it.
There's worse nicknames out there.
Yeah, there is. I'll take it.
Well, Lindsay, thank you so much for those amazing answers. You really know your stuff, and I wish you best of luck whatever decision you make next.
Thank you very much.
Let's move on to the URC. So we have a lot of action to get through from the weekend.
We're going to take a look at who had a great weekend, starting off with the Connacht and Munster match 2018, lads. Yeah. What a game.
What a game.
Good game. I mean, Connacht went, 6-0 up, and then Munster came back into it with a try late on in the first half, 2 minutes to go. Bit of controversy around that one, though. I don't think Connacht fans would be too happy with it. I think we've got the clip coming up here. Just as Scanlon puts this kick through, I think Byrne might just be ahead of the kicker. He's just ahead. Yeah, I don't know. I'm not sure. I'm probably a bit biased. I'm a Munster fan. I'm going to leave it off.
Do you think they should have looked at the TMO?
I don't think they went back to check it even, did they?
They didn't know. They just kind of went to let it play on.
Yeah. We'll take it, dogs. It was a closer comfort that game.
Well, I'm going to advocate for Connacht because my in-laws are Galway. So, won the TMO.
Here now, we have a nice slow motion here. Now we can look at it. Is he in front?
Oh. Yes, he is.
No, I don't think so.
Absolutely.
Some ball skills,
some
though,
skill, I was going to say.
Not bad for a second row / back row.
It's the dive.
And for Chris Clodagh to beat Simon Z with the ball,
But it was nail biting at times, wasn't it?
It was very tense. You knew it was a derby. Like there were so many fights, so many scraps in the game.
But I mean, like Munster led then for 10-6 after that before we call it a flying Paul Boyle try that in at the 5 jumped in from the penalty.
He did very well.
It was an excellent try. Then Munster edged ahead 13-11 before poor old Joey made a bit of a mistake here. He didn't kind of fluffed his lines.
He took a bit of time to kick, but also Jack Carty did very well here. Can't take it from him either. Like he dived to where the ball was going to be.
Yeah, where the trajectory was going to be. I thought that was so impressive.
110 playing against another 10 there.
I was just going to say that actually. So Andy Farrow will be looking at that now.
You see what it meant to Jack Carty there.
Yeah. You can, See, I don't know, I still think Carbery should do better there.
Oh, he has to do better.
I think he should.
You can't get charged down as an out half like off first phase. It's just
Well, we seen it last week for Munster against the Scarlets, where who was playing now half that week, you know, instead of being a right foot kicker like Carbery is cutting across him, he actually came back obviously on the blind side and got the 50-22 kick, which relieves the pressure and gives you more time.
Of course.
Whereas this, like in a tight game like that, like he came back to convert the try, obviously, but which was testament to himself. But yeah, you can't do that with autumn's coming up and the, you know, called up for places and giving people a try are so close. And you do want to see him back in an Ireland jersey. He's just having a mixed bag at the minute, I think. And Carter did very well yesterday.
But it wasn't over there, guys. I remember watching that, like, and I was so disappointed. I thought that was it, but in typical Munster fashion, of course, seconds left on the clock, up steps Dermot Barron with the winning try. I mean, it's such a Munster way to win, isn't it?
Yeah, it completely
I know, but what
is.
the Connacht players doing on the other side, I'm like, fold around, help them. Look, they're doing nothing. There's only one.
He looks
Archer's
number 20
the only
looks
guy.
tired.
They're tired.
Yeah, they do. It
Huge
was tough.
gap there. They're tired.
Great stuff out of Dermot Barron. He's playing very well for Munster.
Yeah.
really.
Good player. Good player. Really good now. But
And then Joey steps up and kicks it.
How do you think he performed, Joey, this weekend?
Yeah, I think he's getting a tough time of it, Joey. He's been
Yeah.
injured for so long. Like, you know what it's like to be injured for such a long period of time. Like, I think people need to get off his back, give him a bit of time to go find his form again. He'll get into the flow of things. Like, he's still an unbelievable.
that's not an easy kick. I mean, you know, with the pressure on you, like that's to win the game, and it's not an easy kick.
Exactly.
And you know, he does it like so.
I think he'll come back. Just give him a bit of time, a few games, and he'll be back to flying form.
It's confidence, really, isn't it? And especially in a 10, you're in a pivotal position, you know, with that outback pair. And Craig Casey's having a great season. I think he's really come on leaps and bounds every week, and he's controlling the team. So I think if we can get Carbery a bit of confidence getting in, I think we'll see more consistent performances out of him, you know, and get him back in an orange jersey where we need to see him.
There's still so much talk, isn't there, this week of who's going to have 10 position. Sexton, is he going to stay? And they all seem to be fighting over the 10 jersey and who's going to get the look in.
That's it. Speaking of Sexton, we'll move on to the Leinster game. 50-15, they managed to absolutely smash the Scarlets. That's 2 weeks in a row now. The Scarlets have got hammered by Irish provinces. I don't think they'll be too
They started
happy
so
with that.
well, didn't they?
They did. They started really well.
With the first opening try.
Johnny McNichol with an early try here, but I think all they really did there, lads, was poke the bear, because what came after this was just an absolute domination, annihilation from Leinster. Good try though.
Great try, yeah. Leinster just are unbelievable at the moment across the board. Like, that was just one little mistake there by James Lowe, but other than that, everyone across the board is just so clinical in Leinster.
Yeah.
The only thing I want to see from Lauder is, like, obviously he was criticised for his performances in Irish jersey cutting in. Now, I'm not a winger, so the wingers and the backs can kind of comment in here. And obviously you have to make that decision, but then it's leading to a try. So that's the only thing for him, because I'd love to see him back in an Ireland jersey for all the positives. And he's not the only one. I think Jacob Stockdale, when he started as well, is. So I'm not a back, so it's those split decisions that we need to see, not leading to tries.
It's definitely the reason he's not in the squad at the moment. It's the reason he got dropped was his defensive lapses, and if he, as you said, if he can fix that, he has everything else.
Like, there's no need for him to cut in there. Do you know what I mean? Because we still have your full line inside, and obviously use the sideline. Do you know? So it's those little decisions. You know, and again, it's confidence and backing yourself. But he did some great things.
But as I said, like looking at the game itself and how they responded to that early tries from Andrew Porter, Ronan Keller, a penalty try, and then this great Kellen Dower score. This is a lovely try here. Lowe does really well here to keep the ball in.
Yeah, really good team try.
Lovely hands here.
Look at this out the back.
Look at this Keller. I mean,
yeah, lovely little offload.
Twinkle toes Kelleher.
Yeah.
Not bad for a hooker.
It's amazing, a hooker to a 6. Like.
Yeah.
Listen, the hooker shone this weekend. Didn't we have a 50-22 kick from an overthrown line out?
We're going to get onto that at some stage of the show,
It's the hookers there.
I thought this match was, most of the tries came from the forwards. Yeah, all of them did.
What I love here is, you know yourselves, when it's open play, just keeping the ball moving. It's the worst thing when you're trying to defend, get back on your onside and try and set up your defensive line again.
I love how he's constantly looking around, looking for his support.
Yeah, it's the way the game has gone now. Like, all forwards are mobile, agile forwards. There's no such thing as a slow, fat forward anymore. Like, those days are long gone.
No,
of course not. They all have a skill set.
Yeah, 100%. It's brilliant. What about poor old Johnny Sexton went off injured, hip flexor injury.
Yeah, he didn't seem too happy about it.
I don't know, he didn't look, I mean, you see him coming off here, like, he looks all right as he initially comes off, but you can see the old kind of, the face drops and he looks a bit angry. I mean...
Yeah, I think that's his natural competitive edge. He just doesn't want to come off the pitch, like, you know, regardless. which is great to see at his age and how long he's been playing, that he still wants to be playing the last couple of minutes of every game. So hopefully he's not too bad, because there's a couple of Irish internationals coming up, so we can't have him injured.
But even if he's fit, we're not sure if he's going to be fit or he's going to be injured, but even if he is fit, should we be starting him in November? Should we be looking at, we've got our Carberys there, we've got our Cartys there, we've got the 2 Burns in Leinster, and you've even got young Ben Healy. There's a lot of 10s there, and as you said, probably not.
Not in my opinion, because I think where Johnny Sexton is so important to us now is being able to pass the baton. Now that's not to say Johnny Sexton, because I'm looking at him there and I'm the exact same. I would absolutely raging at him going off a pitch, because you're just still that early 20-year-old or 15-year-old self where you're like, no, I want to play. It's just a game. But where we need to do is manage him, that he's not injured as much, and then that we have him in a squad that he's able to help these new players come along and transition and pass on all of his skill set and all of his knowledge. Exactly like when he came on the scene with O'Gara. You are clocking heads, but you're getting the best out of the player, and we can kind of utilise that competitiveness to the best for us, for Ireland. But I think for his longevity and how important he is to us, I think we just need to manage him a little bit more. Yes, involve him in autumns, but don't involve him in all of them. Don't start him and give him lots of game time. Like that, the hip flexor looks like another load it's a load issue. So I think we just need to, keep him as long as we can, but we need to manage him. And I know that won't bring a smile to his face, but that's where I see where he does.
There's a lot of depth still in the centre squad, like Dan Sheehan coming off the bench. How do you rate him as a player? He came on and scored 2 tries.
Listen, he's fantastic between himself and Kelleher. And Leinster have been so good in their underage. We've worked with Kieran Hallett with Ireland. He's an exceptional man, an exceptional coach. So I know he's heavily involved there with the academy. So the calibre of player they have, and they aren't even able to give them full contracts. So it's good to see other players being released, whether to be Munster or across the water. It just means they can keep the best players from themselves, and they're thriving in that environment to bring out the best of them, and they're coming early. And I think Leinster do very well, and we've seen it with Munster last week with Scarlets, kind of getting the younger players, the Wycherleys in, getting them some game time, then maybe coming off the bench this week. So again, with more games, you can kind of use players and use those wisely to blood your new players and get them into the Munster style, or whether it's the Leinster style, gives them confidence, and then they're coming off the bench and getting 2 tries. So I think they're managing very well, and all round it's been 4 rounds of some very exciting rugby, to be fair, which is lovely to see.
What's incredible to see is all the young fellas getting game time in every single province. Another province that played well in the weekend and are at the top of the league, I think, at the moment, are Ulster. They're 4 from 4 wins,
points,
4 bonus points, and all the young fellas are playing well. We've Nathan Doak again. You had McElroy on the wing. You have the centre partnership of Moore and James Hume. All incredible. Nick Timney, 2 tries. He's only a young fella. What they're doing up north is incredible as well. I think we have a few tries here.
We've got Hume Troy coming up here. Another excellent prospect. Lovely pass here by Byrne. Beautiful. I think he's a guy that could be involved this November. He's been training with the squad for a while. I think he's a good player.
And Joe, as a forward, what you love to see is that you go through your phases, and that your scrum half is making that decision, and the skip pass by Burns, obviously, because at that stage, I think the Lions had to make a decision. They were outnumbered, so they had to come off the line quick, and he made a great decision to kind of skip. And the good thing about Ulster is, I think people are saying, they're inconsistent in the matches. They're only 4 rounds in. If you're winning 4 bonus point wins on the trot at the start of a season, I'm like, everyone relax here. They're doing some really good things. You just want to win games, and you always want things to work on. So, of course, exciting things to come hopefully ahead.
Nick
for
Timoney was absolutely class again the weekend.
Yeah, he needs to be in for November's now.
Without doubt.
Like this one here, he had no right to score this try.
He's just so dynamic, so strong.
His footwork, his power.
I was lucky enough to play with him in the sevens team for a while, and he's as fast as any back three out there, which is a madness, because he's like 115 kg as well. So I can see him easily being in Andy Farrell's international team this
such a competitive area, though. That's the problem. We have so many good back rows. But you look at Leinster, Munster and Ulster, Connacht, there's guys in every position there. It's brilliant to see, I suppose. But
well, I think, for me, competition breeds the best out of people. And I think, what we need is that competitive edge and everything. Then we see Byrne move up to the second row, James Ryan in there as well. So could we be looking at some of our back rows, playing in the second row, and now you've your back 5 being of all back row nature, so you have a more mobile pack, and that gives your pack a different dynamic in your forward. So lots of options for Andy Farrell. It's just now what style he wants to play, and maybe against the opposition we have coming up in November.
Another one that might be getting an island to call up, James Hume. What do you think of him as a player?
Well, I think historically, our centre partnerships have been so consistent, but then we've no one backing it up. So it's nice to see a lot of options there for centres. So I think, yeah, absolutely bring them in. I mean, we've seen Henshaw, you know, a lot of injuries. Bundy's only back off injury. So it's nice to get, you know, have options there, a centre partnership, and get them blooded in because, you know, obviously Will Addison was back. You know, he was in there as an option for time. So I think, yeah, the more caps we can get in and deepen our squad, I think it's nothing but a good thing.
Yeah, excellent. Moving on to one of the South African franchises, the Stormers. They got their first win against the Dragons weekend. Myself and Greg were laughing about this clip earlier on. I hadn't seen it originally until this morning. Little kick through here, and Davies and Josh Lewis and Sam Davies making absolute hames of this.
At this point, you're like, there's no way this can be a try.
Like, what happened?
That was brilliant that he got that.
Yeah.
It's incredible
fair
chase
play.
up by him. Zaz, I think his name is.
Think so.
Stormers winger, yeah. South African teams are playing very well.
They're all starting to pick up wins now. It's
Yeah.
good to see, like, you know.
Yeah.
You see what it means to him. Keep
Bit of
chasing after the
confidence.
ball.
See it on the replay here. It comes out. The lovely little kick in behind here. I mean, Davies and what you call it, they have to cover this. They have to be in a position. It makes no
The
sense.
15 was really too relaxed there, wasn't he?
Yeah, but
And surely they're
Davies and
talking
Lewis,
to
yeah,
one
makes no
another.
sense. It makes no
Yeah.
sense.
you just have to dive in that ball, kill
But
that ball.
that's just communication.
Yeah. I'm sure they won't look like looking at that now Monday review.
Oh, he did. He had his hands and it dropped.
That last replay just going to
No
show
one
us.
ever likes Monday reviews. You're like, oh no, what's going on?
Moving on to the losers of the weekend. I hate to say losers, but the unfortunate events of the weekend. We mentioned it last Sunday on the show about RG Snyman getting injured again.
Yeah.
So I mean, he was 13 months out the last time. They're saying it's the same injury again. He's redone it. So you're looking at, I mean, by the time he comes back in, his contract will be up with Munster. So whether or not they'll keep him on or what's going to happen to him is just terrific.
You'd hope they keep him on because he's one of the best second rows in the world. Like, he was starting in the South African winning World Cup team. He went to Japan for a while, I think, then came to Munster, did his ACL, then he had an accident to do with a bonfire. Then he did his ACL again. I'm like, the poor lad just needs a bit of time, like, do you know what I mean? I think he'd be incredible. So hopefully he recovers now. It'll be 9 months or something for an ACL injury, and Munster can use him because he's still only like 25, I think. He's a young fella.
Well, if he's not, with age on his side, and I think what we've seen coming up from the underage ranks with Munster, I think it's going to be a good period for you. And I'm saying that this kills me to say it as a Leinster person, but in saying that it'll be good because I mean it's a long time since we're kind of knockout stages or finals of Heineken Cups. That's where Munster want to be. So by the time with another year under the belt for some of the younger lads, for Snyman to come back, it might be a good time where he's just kind of that final piece to kind of be back winning big trophies back to Thomond Park.
That's it.
Exactly, yeah.
But can the provinces invest in these players who are constantly injuring themselves? You know, there's a lot of talk financially that they're struggling. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, I think COVID hasn't helped everybody. But I think now with fans back in the stadium and a lot of rugby in, and thankfully everything kind of moved to TV. Hopefully a lot of money came back in that way. So all you can do is hope that with things back up and running that you can kind of claw back some of the money that we can get back. It's not going to be how we were pre-COVID, but hopefully that, as I said, the world is back opening up, we can get a bit of money back in. So
Same point in as well. Will Addison, another person who's been absolutely horrific with injuries since he's come over from Sale Sharks. I mean, if he no luck, he'd have bad luck, that kind of thing. Like, or if he
we see another replay of this, Ross.
Yeah,
it's horrific.
It's horrific. I hope it's not too bad. But the thing is, rugby's such a confrontational game. Like, these things are going to happen, unfortunately.
I think he's actually officially broken his leg. It did break, yeah.
Oh, lads, I mean,
you can just, it's the weirdest thing. You couldn't, if you did that 10 times, I don't think the timing would not.
It's just unlucky.
Yeah, it's terrible to see. But as I said, rugby's such a confrontational, aggressive game. Like, those things are going to happen. We've all had our injuries. Like, I think
you've had a few of them yourself. Like, I mean, what's it like to come back from them? Like these serious injuries. You've had a few of them.
Yeah, I'm 26. I've had 5 surgeries. Like, which is crazy. Yeah. But I think most of the lads that I've played with, everyone's had 2 or 3 surgeries. You've probably had a load of big injuries.
I've just broke my leg and then.
When I was playing with you, you weren't too injury prone, you powered through. Like.
No, I've had just a bit of neck issues because obviously I'm a prop, bit of a bulging disc, and I did lose the power in this arm. I couldn't lift Barry's school bag or anything, so got a bit of a steroid injection in that. But other than the leg break, I had surgery, got a plate in. And
Nothing too serious then.
nothing too serious. It was back in the horse. I had this homemade bike it set up in his playroom and stuff. And yeah, I got in trouble for bursts and stitches. But you know yourself, if I'm not in trouble,
I
I'm not
remember
myself.
when you'll laugh, I actually have a scar on my hand when I was in the sevens, right? We were practicing with watermelons. And melons, did you hear about this
Yeah,
story?
no.
With melons, right, to make us catch better, like with tennis balls. I don't know if Auntie ever did this with you. And they launched one of the watermelons in the sky, and I caught it with one hand and was like, burst open. I had to get like 5 stitches all the way across my fingers. After this, I was out for weeks with it.
A watermelon.
Yeah, from
like a huge
sevens.
watermelon.
Yeah, it was a little melon. It was one of the little yellow ones.
Yeah.
Oh my.
I caught it, but
Got a load of backspin on it. Here you go, Megan.
yeah, the girls are laughing about it. But it's some mad ones that I had.
It must be difficult for women as well, the fact that you're amateur and you've got jobs as well. So if you pick up an injury in rugby, how do you explain to your boss and go back to your boss and go, I'm after doing this?
Yeah.
That must be difficult.
I'm kind of lucky because I'm on an older contract, so I'm with the HSE, and I did go back to do PE as a mature student. But you know, you're kind of an old contract where you're kind of covered by, it was half or social welfare, but you're still kind of crippled then, and it's not ideal. I was out for 6 weeks of work, and then you've a baby at home, and you're trying to help out with that, and then you can't drive and you can't collect him from school. So kind of lucky. In ways, no one wanted COVID, but lucky that we were on lockdown, so he wasn't in school. But funny story about that, our head coach Adam Griggs thought I was obviously very high on maybe whatever I was on for the surgery, and I said, don't worry coach, I'll be back for the Italy game. So I'd broken it against England, and we had a week off, and then we were playing Italy. And he said, yeah, you just rest up. But sure, everything went on lockdown, and I did make it back for the Italy game. So he probably thinks I set off COVID. I'll see you for Italy. But yeah, that's the only one, touch wood now. But
That's class.
Yeah, the injuries are a mad thing, and you forget about for the player, psychologically, it's very difficult to deal with this kind of stuff. Like you see people like Will Addison now, RG Snyman, and you forget that they're now sitting at home with big injuries. So, very luckily now with the RPI, they actually offer like psychologists and stuff, and they really help lads out, which is a big side of it as well. It's probably the same with the women. You have those kind of supports.
You can get. You'll be referred. So I couldn't remember the word. So and so RPI are great with that. But like, you go from a big team setup, and then you're injured, and you're on your own. And then you're doing rehab on your own. It's kind of like a black,
at times.
Yeah,
It's tough.
It's a really dark place, and it's not nice. And it's not like the girls or the lads forget about you. It's just they're in their bubble doing their thing, and you're there going for rehab, which feels like 3 days for just one session. So it's tough.
It's a terrible part of the sport, but it's just the nature of it. That's why we
Makes you
love
stronger.
it.
Oh yeah,
exactly.
Onto the Bulls, unlucky loss against Edinburgh. Tight home win for the Scottish side, but there's been a no-try decision here at the end of the game. Maybe a little bit unlucky.
It was another tight game, but this is some finish. I would have given it to him.
I mean, I think this is a try. Apparently he used his elbow to propel himself. I don't think that's the case.
I don't think so either.
Was it double movement? Is that
That's
what
what they're trying to say. But like,
yeah.
it's to me, he's still moving.
There's a secondary movement. That's what they said.
I don't know. I don't think so. I think they're very unlucky here.
I think he's very unlucky not to get it, but the ref says that the tackle was made on the 5 metre and he propels himself to score. So
If you scored a try that good and it was taken away from him, would you not be absolutely disgusted? I mean,
Probably would be.
you
yeah.
would be, exactly.
That was unreal.
Yeah, there's a TMO obviously that ruled it out in the end, but I mean, I think he was very unfortunate there,
Yeah,
without a doubt.
definitely.
Yeah, we move on to try of the weekend, guys.
let's do it, yeah. First up, we have Josh Lewis's try in Dragons v Stormers. There's a lovely kick through here by
lovely.
Sam Davies.
The little poke in the left leg, I love it.
Yeah,
Yeah. Oh,
perfectly weighted, bounces up for Josh Lewis. So that's our first
Excellent.
nomination. I thought there was unbelievable skill.
we have a replay coming up here now again with a couple of angles of this. Really good try.
Yeah, coming quick ball to the 10, clicked right through.
Dragons have played some good rugby this year.
Yeah.
I mean, they're
that was a
inconsistent,
lovely
they're up and down, but they're playing good rugby.
You couldn't have heard that. That was lovely.
Couldn't have set up better
the
from in
15
fairness.
again. You mentioned him last week, didn't you?
Here's try. I love this try. This is absolutely brilliant. This is Osprey versus Benetton eating roots. Look at this switch here from
Bit of a basketball move. I love it.
from Rhys Webb.
Yeah.
Absolutely lovely.
As Rhys Webb scored 2 tries in that game himself, but that was an unbelievable offload back inside the Eaton roots.
The Ospreys had a great game. The
And it all comes from that turnover.
It's
very
incredible
little
Look
vision.
dummy
at
through
this.
the 9. Lovely feet.
Beautiful.
Turned over, and this is where
He's
find
New
themselves.
Zealand born, isn't he? Number 8.
Dangerous, easy.
You hate being that 10
Yeah.
though at the ruck that's caught on the inside. You're like, no.
Great little switch.
It's a great little switch, isn't it?
Great support line there by
Incredible rugby.
Here it is, look at that.
Great.
Oh, so much skill.
Great
Beautiful.
vision out of Reece Webb, isn't it?
It is.
Craig Casey actually had a similar offload to that.
The next one here, Leinster v Scarlets. Thomas Lezina.
sure, but he's free to continue. And
Oh, that's
Great
lovely teamwork right here.
Hands for days.
You feel sorry with Scarlets because if they actually do play some good rugby, they just got absolutely overpowered and outmuscled by Leinster
Yeah.
for most of that game because they're not a bad side. This is lovely. Lovely carry here. I love it. I love that they get the numbers back around. Quick hands, bang, bang.
Yeah, everyone
Out
was
you go.
looping round to get
Step back
there.
inside, pop in, try. Beautiful.
It's a great two-phase team play,
Yeah.
straight off the scrum.
Great footwork there from McNichol.
Against the Leinster team as well, so they'll be happy with that, even though they got
Yeah.
beaten by 50 points.
Lindsay,
Yeah.
who's your favourite out of the 3?
I'm going to
Who's gonna
go for
win?
the Ospreys, number 2.
Yeah. We're going to go for eating roots, so that's our. Okay, we're moving on to my favourite award, so guys, the Jukebox of the week. So first up, this absolute massive bosh from Ross Moriarty against the Stormers. Whoosh! I love that. He took it well. Both of them took it well, to be fair. Look at this, and whoosh! Oh my God.
Big collision. Needs support. Jones.
Next up is Josh Van der Fleer and Jordan Larmour's counter up. Great to see Jordan Larmour getting stuck in as a back three player.
Lovely.
Jeez, they opened him like a tin can, didn't they?
Lifted straight out of it. I love a good counter rock.
That's some great stuff
Especially
there.
when it back does it. You should just get the turnover straight away.
Yeah. Fair play to Jordan Larmour flying the flag there for back threes.
So this is onto James Low's tackle. Knocks them, forces them to knock the ball on. So we've got one more coming up. You're going to try out of this as well, isn't it? Yeah. Nearly.
Oh.
Unlucky. It's a good hit though, it's a good hit. I mean, he obviously hit him with a lot of force there.
He did. The last one, Keith Earls, the tackle on Sam Arnold.
Oh boy, Keith. Great tackle.
Their former teammate Sam just left Munster and went up to Connacht there, so
Yeah.
maybe a few words at the bottom of the ruck, but just tackle height by Keith Earls there. He just got in under the ball and
Yeah.
Lovely height by him, yeah.
caught semi.
Good clean hit.
But
Oh,
Sam did-
Lindsay, you'd be a few
That's what we
tackles
like
like
to
that,
see.
I remember.
That's what
Hopefully, yeah.
Right guys, what do we think? Who wins Jukebox of the week?
I love Keith Earls for me.
We go for
Yeah.
Keith Earls?
Yeah.
Keith Earls.
Keith Earls it is, guys. Keith Earls it is. Any other standout moments, guys?
So yeah, I've won from Montejuani playing for Benetton. He had unbelievable step coming down the wing here.
I've seen this, yeah. He absolutely makes a fool of the full back.
He's an incredible winger here.
I'm surprised he hasn't got, well, I think he will at some stage get snapped up by one of the big French teams because he's an absolute baller.
You'd presume so, yeah. Even when he played for Italy in the Six Nations, he was scoring tries like this. So
Yeah.
he's well able for it. He's actually related to Digby Ioane, played for Queens Anne Reds. Yeah.
Oh, I actually remember reading about that and I was actually surprised, yeah.
Digby Ioane's his uncle, so
Yeah.
it runs in the family.
Great boots as well. Lindsay, the pink.
This is the angle
Don't
of this
even bring in
angle.
pink to
I
me.
don't need a new pair of pink boots.
The poor full back down on his hands and knees.
That's bad.
It's a clean pair of heels is all he left.
And this one for me is Mike Lowry. It's quite a good one. He goes for a ride.
Yeah, a bit of a ride, the poor young fella. He gets carried here by one of the Lions players into the air. I mean, he's not the biggest of guys.
But he still managed to get the offload away.
It's a bit
Here he
unfortunate.
goes.
Does really well to get the ball away though, in fairness to him.
Yeah.
Does really well to get it away.
He does do really well. He saves it there, but it's not a pretty picture before Mike Lowry.
Another moment we mentioned earlier on, of course, was Connacht Shane Holt. His 50-22, not bad for a
No,
hooker.
not bad for a hooker. And yeah, he celebrated at the end as well. It's like, now check me out as a forward. But
It's probably the best part of the celebration, I think.
absolutely.
But I think the funny part is the fact that after this, I think he actually misses his throw in the line out. So after doing all the hard work, putting an amazing kick in as a hooker. He makes a ham to the line.
He followed all the excitement in when he should have been concentrating. But it was great for him to see the space, and obviously a nice bounce for it to go in, and he relieved the pressure because it looked like an overthrow.
Do you think that was the right decision? For him to kick it?
He made it the right decision.
Yeah.
He made it the right decision by getting the 52 and getting the line up. But unlucky for Conway, there was nothing he could do there. Like that bounce was absolutely wicked.
He had it covered and then it was gone. Nothing worse.
Absolutely. So other good news we want to move on to is the South African teams. We finally found out some good news with them with regards to them hosting their home games in URC. They're going to go ahead and they're going to be able to have fans in the stadium. I mean, after everything we saw with the Lions tour over the summer and how horrific it was for them over there, it's good to see it, isn't it?
Absolutely, and I think it's lovely to see, like, rugby and sport needs fans back, and the Lions tour wasn't the same. Yes, grand, it was, hammer and tongs between the two teams, but to not have the atmosphere of the South Africans themselves and obviously all the travelling fans, it just took a different gloss. So I think it'll add to hopefully they'll get a couple of wins at home. We've seen an improvement in them this year at the start of the tournament, so I think it'll only add to their input and how important they are to the tournament overall with their home games and fans back.
Well, I think it's vital for the tournament just to get the South African fans to buy into it.
100%,
You know what I mean? Because there's I don't know how many South African teams there are, but that's how many thousands of fans sitting down in South Africa. If you want them to keep supporting their teams and keep them encouraged, they have to get games down in South Africa. So hopefully the boys can go down there and play as well as South African teams have done up here.
Brings a more competitive edge as well, because home advantage is massive.
Huge,
what I mean? It's massive.
It'll be good for the Irish teams to get out and get out of the norm that has been, for the last 2 years with COVID. It'll be big for them to kind of look at the other part of their game, so travelling, focusing, and that they can really just, get some together time under their belt and go into a really hostile environment, I'm sure, with fans and just a different dynamic and performing under that pressure away from home. So it'll be nice for them.
100%.
I'm looking forward to going over there myself at some stage once things get back to normal.
Yes,
it's a nice old tour to go on and go over and watch Munster or Leinster over in South Africa. Wouldn't be a bad holiday.
No.
Planning your
long
holiday.
away, yeah.
Exactly.
All right, so let's turn to social media and see what you guys thought about this weekend's action. So first up is the Loose Head. He says Healy is probably the number one out half form-wise at the moment for Munster. Carbery is much better than what we've seen though. Dips aren't permanent. Internal competition is a huge driver. So that's obviously talking about the Healy versus Carbery matchup there in Munster. Healy is an incredible player, kicks from anywhere on the pitch. But I just love Carbery and his skills. I think he just needs to be given a little bit more time to get back into his flow. But
I think we've got some clips here of Ben Healy first. We're going to take a look at some of his giant penalty against Scarlets, his 50-22 kick against. This is his 50-22 kick here against the Scarlets. I mean, he's an absolute baller. We've been saying that for weeks.
He's a serious booting in Ben Healy. He does, yeah. He kicks from everywhere in the pitch. You saw that 50-22 there, so you could see him easily slotting into an Irish jersey, having a boot consistent as that. So, what do you think from Lindsay?
Well, that's the clip I was saying earlier when Carbery obviously got blocked down. Healy there changed the point of contact, got himself some space, and it was a really good kick and relieved a lot of pressure. So he's just a man in form at the minute, and I think he should be given the chance. And that's not to undermine Joey Carbery. I think he needs to be in camp in the autumns and then just see how they internally go over the couple of weeks, and Andy Farrer can make it. But when players are thriving and they're confident, then they need to come into international programmes to build on that. And again, it's not to take away, give maybe Joey the time back in province and maybe back in camp and kind of manage that again. I'd hate to be Andy Farrer with a lot of players coming to the surface now that are really putting their hands up, but that's what we need. Use the time in autumns to, when players are confident, to see what they can do in that next level, because unless we blood them, we won't know what players are capable of.
I think we have to remember
Joey.
I think we have to remember as well with Joey. Like, I mean, he's coming back from a slate of massive injuries. So, and we know how good he is and how good he was before he got injured. So we need to see this guy back playing. So, I mean, see some clips here as well of Joey. His turnover against. This is the turnover against Connacht, is it?
Because he's only 6-7 games in after his last injury.
That's a massive turnover. Like, I mean, he's a small little 10 ripping the ball out there. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I think we've just seen glimpses, and I think don't pressure him, give him that time, let him build the confidence, and then bring him back in. But again, it's not to undermine what Joey Carbery can do. It's just not putting the pressure. Plus, he's so injury prone. Just manage him for now. He's still so young, and there's so many good days ahead for Joey Carbery. I just think just give him that time and that reassurance that he's still an integral part of an Irish team. But let him take the time to get game time. Like, game time is second to none. Don't bring him into camp and not give him, and you know, if he's 50-50 confidence-wise, don't let him do that, because it's a tough environment, as we all know, when you're going into international level, and you need to be reassured of yourself. So they need to make that decision with him. But look, he's an exceptional player, and he just needs time.
I think it helps with Munster as well, like having Ben Healy there takes that pressure off him.
Yeah,
He doesn't have to play
absolutely.
every game anymore,
Yeah.
and they can bring him back slowly because they've got that there.
Yeah.
You know. Moving on to another interesting stat here on social media. Stuart Farmer pointed out that Leinster beat their own URC official record by scoring 7 tries with not a single one of them scored by a back. So every single one of them, you're going to love that now, that every single one of them was scored by a forward.
Forwards.
They previously held the market by scoring 6 against Benetton back in 2013. I mean, that's absolutely insane. We were just saying how mobile and agile their forwards are. Every single try came from the back. It's insane.
Yeah, which is lovely, because if you think your forwards are normally your launch for your platform off set piece, but now they're a different dynamic to them, that they're actually so potent with ball in hand and attacking. And you haven't even brought in your backs. I mean, that looks good for us when we get into the bigger competition, and obviously the longevity then of the competition as a whole. So yeah, all hail the forwards.
Moving on, we've got another one here. We've got, obviously we spoke about it earlier, 5 years after Anthony Foley has passed away. Did a lovely tribute here with Carty and Peter O'Mahony holding up a jersey with Axel 8 written on the back of the Connacht jersey. Nice little gesture before the game. As I said, you know, I mean, we all know how much that affected us all in rugby, and how tragic and horrific it was for when Anthony died. And it's nice to commemorate him. I can't believe it's been 5 years already.
I can't believe it either.
Mad, 5 years. And Jack Hardy had lovely words to say at the end of the match as well. He said thanks to Axel's family and stuff, and wished them well. So classy act out of Jack Hardy. in fairness to him.
Huge
Really nice.
man. He did. It was lovely.
Big one over at the weekend was Keith Earls on the late show, on Friday. He came out and revealed that he was diagnosed with bipolar 2. So, I mean, it shocked us all. I mean, he pretty much opened up about his mental health battles. Basically, it started off when he was 12 years of age. His cousin died in a car crash, and he had a really bad panic attack. And for years and years, he just struggled with the problem. He didn't want to tell anyone, just kept it to himself. And it was 2013, just when Joe Smith came in. He just decided he had enough, and he went to the RFU and said, look, I need help. I can't do this anymore. And I think, from what I saw on social media, I saw in the comment sections and stuff, people just saying, for someone this high profile to come out and reveal that they're having this battle and struggling with their own mental health is so helpful for everyone else, because we're not alone in this. I'm sure everyone in this room has had problems with their mental health. It's only natural.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And to see someone I think he's just behind, what's he got, 93 caps, he's 37 tries or something, just behind Brian O'Driscoll. So when people see this picture of perfection and this athlete who's top of his game and world class, to come out and say, like, I'm diagnosed with this, you know, I've struggled throughout my career, and to know who I am. And obviously then he calls his alter ego Hank. You know, it's for anyone, bipolar 2 is hugely mood swings, not as severe as bipolar 1, which is much more manic, but it's still huge to be dealing with that and not know where you are, who you stand, and who's in situ for you at the time, I'm sure. So to Keith Earls to come out and tell a story, and if it resonates with one person to help, is huge. So I think he's a very brave man, and fair play to him for sharing his story. And that's what we say about leaders. You know, they sacrifice themselves for the greater good, and I think he showed true leadership, being so honest and vulnerable in his interview, and I thought he spoke so well, so fair play to him.
100%.
Yeah, it's incredible. Fair play to Keith. And to do it while still playing. A lot of fellas do it when they retire, come out with all their honesties. But he did it the night before even playing against Connacht. So hands up to you, Keith. Fair play to you, sir.
Yeah.
Another bit of news from the world of rugby is the Women's Lions Tour. There's a feasibility study going on to see if it would be viable. What do you make of all that, Lindsay?
Look, I think it's huge credit where credit is due to kind of aspire to the great things that we know in the game of rugby, and obviously the Lions and what the Lions represent, and the 3 opponents that they go and play every 4 years is huge. But do I think that the women's game of rugby is ready for a Lions tour? I think right now, no. I think we're not ready. Like, I mean, if we were to look at the nations that would make up a Lions team, I think really be predominantly picking England. Obviously, hopefully we'd have a few Ireland there, but, you know, between ourselves, Wales and Scotland, you'd be picking very, very few, I would feel. I think it'd be overshone by England. Then there's talk about bringing France in for the calibre. But then you're looking at the nations that you'd normally play. Are they up to standard for a Lions team? So I think right now we're just moving on to the new global calendar in 2023. That'll be post New Zealand. And I think what we need to focus on is help the spread of the game, and help all the countries around the world to really invest in the game of rugby and bring it up to the standard we need before we even look at a Lions tour. I'm sure people are like, oh, you know, this isn't a negative. I'm just trying to be the realist and know what kind of barriers we have in the game right now. And what I'd like to see no more than our own game here is investment and try and, like we said earlier, coordinate everything, and that we can be actually world class. And when we're ready and when it's a viable option for us, absolutely, I can't wait to be there to see the Lions go on tour. Maybe I might be in the manager. Exactly. But, you know, I think it's definitely down the line, but I think we need to look at areas. Again, I think we're so scripted to look at what the men's game is, and that's not, again, a negative. I think the women's game is very different, and we need to look at areas it needs money invested, where we can upskill, and where it needs help. And then, as I said, when it's ready, and we kind of have a lot more level playing field, then we look at a Lions tour when it's ready. But I think as of now, no. Not yet. I think no. No, we've the Barbarians coming up, which is a huge thing in Twickenham. That'll be announced soon, I'm sure, with squad. So that's a double header. So like that's huge. Can we kind of get more of that in the calendar? Look at international club players playing those teams, playing again international, and again see where we stand. To kind of make the Lions tour a reality, but as I said, unfortunately, for my opinion, is a no for now.
Yeah, I'd
Something
agree.
that you'd, you really want to speak about as well is Amy Barrett-Theron, who's the third referee for the URC.
Yes, so we had.
You've had a few run-ins with her, I was told.
Listen, I'll name the three. Joy Neville, always in her bad books. Holly Davidson, always in her bad books, and Amy, third time lucky. I'm always in her bad books as well. But I have to say, Amy's a lovely ex-Springbok player, both sevens, and has been obviously working her way up to again become the third female referee. And it's great to see. It's great to see ex-players being given the opportunity by their unions to upskill themselves and then move across to referees. And I think, though I'm always in their bad books, I have to say all three women have represented our sport and obviously as referees. And what we love as players is their consistency. And I have to say, Amy refed us, I think, in the last game against Wales in 2020 before we broke for COVID, and she's consistent. And what I love about her is she'll kind of say to me, right, you made a good effort there, but I need you to be better at A, B and C. So she likes the game flow. She really has the lines of communication open for you. And just if she's watching, a huge congratulations to her and well done. So yeah, I think she's fantastic, and hopefully we'll see a lot more female referees come up to the standards and being given their chance to shine.
Incredible to see. And the last piece of news from World Rugby is leggings and tights are now permitted at all levels of the game.
Can you believe it? Not only for the girls.
Which some people might start laughing at, the die-hard. I know my father now would start laughing at that, my grandfather. But I actually do think it's needed. Like, I've played sevens all over the world, and the burns and grazes you get, you'd be hospitalised.
Because of the 4G pitches, and there's so many teams using 4G pitches now. It does make sense. It's probably why they're being brought in, I think.
Yeah, I think that is it. Like, Megan, you've been to hospital with burns in your legs from pitches.
I have,
and stuff,
I've missed out on training sessions and even matches because I've had severe burns on my legs from going abroad playing on the 4G pitches. It's been really, it's great to see. I love leggings. In the matches, I think it's more of it's protecting the players. You know, it really is.
Like, it's not a warmth thing. It's a skin protection thing, and it's definitely needed, because like when on the sevens tour you have a Saturday and Sunday you play. If you pick up bad burns on the back of your legs or the front of your legs, you can't sleep the Saturday night, so then you can't recover properly to play the Sunday. Then you get injured on a Sunday. Do you know what I mean? So it's actually a health matter. So it's great to see them being passed.
100%. And they just keep cutting, and they're so susceptible to infection. Like, and the last thing you need now is trying to train and run down your infection. You're trying to fight that. So I think it's a good call that we. I said it was for women for a long time, but now it's across the board. So it's great to see.
I think they're trying to save face more than anything because of the fact that a lot of people are saying let's get rid of 4G pitches, but for World Rugby it makes sense to have these 4G pitches so you can play all around. So pitches don't get damaged. So, but with all these complaints, as you said, of guys getting their legs and girls getting their legs torn apart, okay, let's just bring this in straight away. Let's at least give them leggings. Let's see how this works out, and it'll give companies an opportunity to make specialised leggings in as well, so that they're not getting ripped and everything's okay. But right, so guys, I think unfortunately that's all we've got time for. Lindsay, thank you so much for coming on.
Thanks for having me.
Brilliant guest.
Legends.
Yeah, thanks.
Great show.
Thanks again to our partners, Bank of Ireland, proud sponsors of the 4 Irish provinces. I'm really looking forward to next week, guys. Come back where we take on round 5 of the URC Championship. See you next week.
Joe presents House of Rugby, United Rugby Championship, together with Bank of Ireland, proud supporter of the 4 Irish provinces.